Does God care if our church is incorporated? God's grief called churches and believers to anguish. But few grieve, few cry, few pray, few even know that there is a call to anguish. We will look at one reason for God's anguish. The call started a long time ago. Authentic churches in the colonies and then in the new nation betrayed their roots and compromised the authority of God. Many Baptist churches in the colonies applied for certificates whereby they would receive tax dollars on an equal footing with the established churches. Then, after the adoption of the Constitution and ratification of the First Amendment, many churches chose to incorporate to get perceived benefits from man-made laws. Their betrayal passed on to future churches. The betrayal of God increased exponentially for 225 plus years to this very day. This short lecture proves one ultimate consequence of this betrayal that should call believers and churches to anguish. To allow churches to incorporate and get 501c3 status, the civil government must know what a church is. They have to define church. Otherwise, a lot of scams would arise, right? Well, believe me, a lot of scams and a lot of satanic organizations are defined to be churches by the state agencies who incorporate churches and also by the Federal Internal Revenue Service. The IRS must define church to determine whether an organization qualifies for corporate 501c3 or 508 status. Way of the future, an organization which denies the existence of God, has applied for church status with the IRS. The tenets of the way of the future include a faith in science, which will create a Godhead, which will allegedly make things better. Will such status be granted? We don't know yet. So let us look at one 1988 IRS ruling. Using a 14-part criteria for determining whether an organization is a church, the IRS determined in 1988 that an organization with the following purpose, as stated in its Articles of Incorporation and Bylaws, was a church. Quote, to establish an ecumenical church to help people learn to pay attention, wake up, and discover what both Christ and Buddha referred to as one's true self. Close quotes. The IRS ruling stated, the organization was established to develop an ecumenical form of religious practice, place greater significance on the modes of religious expression that would unify Western and Eastern modes of religious practice, place greater significance on the mystical or interior experience of religious truth than that of most Western church denominations, and be more spiritually satisfying to members than other existing church organizations. The IRS has likewise determined that the Church of Wicca and the Church of Satan and other God-defying organizations are churches. The door for such evil was opened when God's authentic churches decided to compromise, to become corporate creatures of the state, to quit their fight for religious freedom and religious truth. Where is the anguish in the houses of God? There is none. The Bible says in Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.